I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
One problem here in the pits, but this crew, they found a way to cool things down.
Mellow yellow! There's nothing mellow about hot. There's nothing mellow about thirsty. The cold citrus taste cuts through when nothing else will do.
Watch the mellow yellow car burn up the track in this summer's hottest movie, Days of Thunder.
There's nothing mellow about it.
Hey, this is Matt once again. What about another review? This is another of the requests for Wes. I believe the last of the requests for Wes. Thank you so much for your generosity, and thank you to everyone for their generosity. If people want to request pretty much any type of video, review, topic, re-reviews, reactions, whatever, you just send a request directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And not only did he want a commentary for Days of Thunder, he wanted a review of Days of Thunder. And this time I actually got my Mellow Yellow. I'm a fan of this drink. It's my favorite drink. I drink it all the time. Granted, too much, but you only live once, and most of the time this don't be short, so fuck it. Now, Days of Thunder, I quite enjoy. I've always enjoyed this film. I think it's the best racing film out there. Granted, there's not a lot of competition. I mean, what, Driven with Sylvester Stallone? I'm a big Stallone fan, but even I think Driven sucks. I ranted on that when I did my Stallone marathon. I think Driven sucks. Most people think Driven sucks. For good reason. I think Days of Thunder, if Driven was like Days of Thunder, then yeah, it'd be a better movie. Now, it was directed by Tony Scott. May he rest in peace. I'm a big Tony Scott fan, from Enemy of the State to True Romance to Deja Vu to Beverly Hills Cop 2, Top Gun, many others. There's only a handful of films of his I did not care for. The Hunger, Domino, Revenge, but most of them I quite enjoyed. I mean, the last film he did, Unstoppable, I really enjoyed. So Tony Scott's greatly missed. He'd be in my top 10 favorite directors. I just love the way he sets up the shots. I love the energy he brings to it. For some reason, when I think of Tony Scott, I think of the sun. I know this sounds stupid, but just certain ways, either maybe it's not a sun setting, but like a certain way the sun, the light of it cascades over certain objects, and whether it be those fields, oil fields. Not sure if it was oil, but those fields in Beverly Hills Cop 2, where Eddie Murphy and them find in the third act of the film. And even this, with the beginning of the movie, as the NASCAR race is about ready to start. Obviously, this film was made because of the success of Top Gun. Because, okay, Tom Cruise, you got him being the star of it, Tony Scott being the director of it, you got Jerry Bruckheimer, Don Simpson, who produced that film. They're producing this one. And I'm sure one of the reasons that was done is because, like Tony Scott, he's like, well, shit, my last film, Revenge, didn't do that well. Tom Cruise, I forget what he did before this. Was it Born on the 4th of July? Which is a good movie. I liked it. I know sometime around there he did Cocktail, which I don't know how well that did. I know that was derailed by critics. I barely remember anything about Cocktail, honestly, except that song. Ooh, I wanna take ya Bermuda, and then him just throwing fucking glasses for drinks. That's all I remember of Cocktail. But they wanted the success of Top Gun again, and then they did not quite get it. The film, sometimes I hear it's a flop, sometimes I hear it's just a disappointment. The difference being a flop, it lost money, a disappointment. They looked at these films as tentpoles. What do I mean by a tentpole film? Studio will look at a set of films, a slate of films, and go like, these have a possibility of flopping. But they want this group of films that they almost guarantee to be a hit. Why do they want that? Because if, let's say, worst case scenario, most all of these films flop, at least we won't be out of business because these films will make us either back the money so we break even. We don't want that, but we want to make more money, or maybe we get profit because of these. Days of Thunder was one of those because Tom Cruise is a big star. Tony Scott. Success with Don Simpson, Jared Bruckheimer, Beverly Hills Cop 2, and Top Gun. Okay, maybe this will be our next big movie, and it wasn't. Now, granted, yeah, Days of Thunder shares some similarities with Top Gun because of the team involved. Because you have, I mean, I guess, I will be honest, I didn't view Tom Cruise's character as cocky as he was in Top Gun, but some people, people make the similar comparisons between the two characters, and then fall in love with someone, whether it be his instructor in Top Gun or with his doctor in this movie. This is rivalry. Hell, Cary Elwes almost looks like Val Kilmer's character in Top Gun with the blondish hair. It's like, is that Iceman? Or Iceman 2? No, it's Cary Elwes. And as a film, yes, you could call it predictable or cliche, but to me, it's fun. I'm not the only one. Quentin Tarantino likes this film, believe it or not. Quentin Tarantino even said, yeah, you may laugh, but I think this is a fun movie. This is a movie like Grand Prix and Le Mans, which Steve McQueen wanted to be. You're not supposed to take this film that seriously. It's a fun film. I think it's his favorite racing film as well. So I don't always agree with Tarantino, but there's some stuff I do agree with. Like when Crawl came out, he said that was one of the best films of the year. I agree with that. This film I definitely agree with. I think he mentioned being a Tony Scott fan because, of course, Tony Scott directed the film he wrote, True Romance, but I remember seeing good things about Beverly Hills Cop 2. And there's another movie I forget. But anyway, with the film itself, the cast do a job well done. Tom Cruise, I like Tom Cruise. A lot of people don't. I don't care about his personal affairs. He could be weird, jumping on couches wherever the fuck he wants. I just want him to make good movies. Or not be a complete dick like Bruce Willis. Or that type of stuff. You want to be in Scientology? I don't give a fuck about Scientology, but fine, whatever. Sounds crazy to me, but whatever. That's my opinion. But I think he's a good actor. He showed he's a good actor in films like Born on the 4th of July, among others. My favorite of his is probably Edge of Tomorrow, honestly. I was really surprised by that film. A lot of his Mission Impossible films have been pretty good. Especially Rogue Nation and, was it Fallout? You don't remember the title? It's been a while since I've seen it. But I do remember really liking it. And no, Tom Cruise, you don't need to do a film in fucking space. We have movies that look like space, like Gravity and Ad Astra. They've made it look pretty real in space without being in actual space. There's no point going in space, just people just say it's fucking CGI anyway. That don't make much of a difference being in actual space, Tom. With all the shit going on, we don't need a fucking movie going into space. One of these days you don't get your ass killed in one of these crazy stunts. I don't want that to happen, but you keep doing this crazy shit. I mean, I appreciate the crazy stunts you do and stuff, but going into space, that's just... a word of warning from Crazy Ralph here about, something bad to happen. But Tom Cruise plays the character Cole Trickle, which I will say is one of the worst names for a character. Although there was a real racer with the last name Trickle. By the way, just Cole Trickle, putting those two names together, it sounds like a cold. It sounds like some type of STD you got, or you got an STD and that's what happens to your dick. What happens to your dick? It has a cold trickle. It's not a great image, is it? That's where the symptoms. You got this 25-year-old dirty chick. She gave you, your symptom is cold trickle. Like I said, they wanted to get the success of Top Gun. Tom Cruise did a good job. I like Tony Scott's direction. Nicole Kidman, yes, of course, it's his doctor. But they actually do go into the fact that she's so pretty. I actually thought this was a bit smarter than people give credit to. Because before I get into that, Tom Cruise is with Robert Duvall, and they're supposed to work together. And Randy Quaid, he owns the cars. He wants Robert Duvall to train, because Tom Cruise knows how to drive, but he just doesn't know the ins and outs of actual cars. So they work together. There's sort of a friendly, at least friendlier rivalry with Michael Rooker, who's in this film, which I'm a big fan of, from Cliffhanger. Of course, he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. But as Robert Duvall and Tom Cruise are bonding, and they're with this team, including John C. Reilly, who would be with Will Ferrell on Talladega Nights and Step Brothers. There's a moment where they get stopped by the cops, and there's this cop who looks pretty, but then she reaches her hand into his pants and says, "Oh, I found a concealed weapon. I wonder what you can do with this." And it's a stripper. And Robert Duvall and them are laughing at Tom Cruise. Is like, "Oh, you motherfuckers." That's some of the fun levity in this movie. It's fun. It's a fun film. But that was a smart decision on the story, on the script part, because later on, when you see Nicole Kidman is very pretty, Tom Cruise thinks it's another stripper. And the other people going, Robert Duvall's like, no, she's a real doctor. And Tom Cruise's like, yeah, right. Yeah, isn't this what you want to look at? And she's like, no. And then Tom Cruise gets embarrassed because he made an ass of himself in front of a real doctor. And Nicole Kidman, at this point, she had done the film Dead Calm, which got a lot of people's eyes onto her. That's why she would be in this film, Malice, with Alec Baldwin. That's the movie where Alec Baldwin's like, "You want to say I got a God complex? Let me tell you, I am God." And then her and Tom Cruise became an item for a while. That's why they did that film that no one remembers called Far and Away. No one remembers because it's boring shit. At least in my opinion. That movie just wasn't my cup of tea. I'll put it that way. And before I go on, one of the biggest pluses of this movie is the score by Hans Zimmer. The score by Hans Zimmer is fantastic. I think it's one of his best scores. It's one of the most underrated scores, because no one ever brings up the score to Days of Thunder. But you listen to that score, just listen to it by itself, as well as with the movie. It's a fantastic score. It gets your adrenaline pumping. My favorite bit is at the end with Victory Lane. Type in Days of Thunder, Victory Lane. The music's like a minute or so long. Beautiful piece of music. If I made a movie, I would steal that music or buy the music to use it in my movie. I love that music. And Hans Zimmer is a big reason why this film works. And that's why I'm saying, a lot of times I harp on a score or I talk about the music of a film, because to me it is a very important part of a movie. It's a very important part because it could be either the soul of the film, or it could be sort of sometimes the skeleton of a film, or sometimes the skin of a film. It could be a very important part of it. And I think a lot of times, not all, but a lot of times, that gets disregarded, which I think is a mistake. And Hans Zimmer, when he did scores like this and Broken Arrow and then, you know, The Rock, that's the reason why Hans Zimmer became one of my favorite composers. Nowadays, I didn't mind his theme in Man of Steel, to be honest, but other than that, Hans Zimmer just hasn't really done much for me. But you just say that for last scores. There are exceptions. But yeah, the musical score, directors have to realize that could be a very important part of your movie. And it seemed like back to the day, oh, the score to Cliffhanger and the score to, you know, this movie, even movies I don't like Alien 3. I don't like Alien 3, but the score I think is really good. Nowadays, it's like you have to search for maybe the exception to the rule. Oh, that's decent. Don't remember, don't remember, don't remember, don't care, don't like, don't remember. Oh, that was decent. Like, you have to search for the exceptions to the rule. Back then, it seemed like every other movie had a great score to it, let alone soundtrack. But I will say this film didn't do as much of the soundtrack as compared to Top Gun. There's no, you know, Take My Breath Away. Like, there is a song. It's okay, but, you know, I don't love the song. I will say I like the score more. But maybe they do it too. They're like, hey, this score is so good, don't fuck it up with song. So maybe it's for the better. But I mean, the story, Tom Cruise is good with the carb. He's getting beaten by Michael Rooker, sort of a friendly rivalry. But then he's doing very well. There's a time where there's a big car crash. And I liked his rivalry with Michael Rooker to the point that they're racing each other on wheelchairs. Or they're supposed to get to this dinner and they don't want to drive the others, so they each rent a rental car. And they race each other and they're bumping into each other in order to get to this dinner first. I thought that rivalry was rather fun. I liked the father-son almost dynamic between Robert Duvall and Tom Cruise's character. Which you didn't really have that in Top Gun. So people say it's a Xerox copy of Top Gun. Again, stuff like that makes it different from Top Gun. And I really enjoyed the friendship that developed between Duvall and Tom Cruise's characters. I didn't like these cops, but they're a stripper, and Tom's paying for a deadly weapon. And also, I like Top Gun. I would say I like the chemistry between Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman more here. Maybe because they did become an item, so you can see in a way the start of that within the movie. I think that helped with their chemistry. Now, Nicole Kidman's character, there's not much to the character. She's pretty. In 5 minutes, she falls for, well, more than 5 minutes, but I think that's the predictable cliche part. The unpredictable notion would be they were just friends. You know, they're not going to go that route. When the race scenes happens, the direction is nice. You get some POV shots of the cars, decent editing. It's not schizophrenic, it's not confusing. Sometimes I do wish for more like big wide shots of the cars, especially in the finale when, okay, imagine a wide shot. You see bits of this, but I wish it would hold on there longer. Like in the end finale when he's driving the mellow yellow car. It would be nice to see like a long shot, stay on the shot, a wide shot of you see the mellow yellow car passing, going over here, passing, going over here, passing. But you don't really get that. And again, that's just a nitpick, because I do think the racing scenes are well done in the movie. But again, like I said, just nice to have a bit more of those wide shots to really get a sense of him passing each of these cars without cutting. And yeah, there's some drama when Michael Rooker crashes. Things seem fine, but then he has issues, so he can't race. Then Michael Rooker goes, hey Tom, race my cars, don't help with my sponsors. Robert Duvall's like, no, you're not going to get in that car. You get in that car, you might die. In fact, you probably will die. And Tom's like, hey, I'm going to be fine. Cary Elwes, who I remember from The Princess Bride, he was in the first Saw film. He plays a good asshole. The guy you just want to get beaten. See, the reason Tom Cruise couldn't win is he didn't have the Mel Yellow car. But now he's got the Mel Yellow car, then he's going to be fine. Because you need the mellow to win. Speaking of which, salute. I mean, you need the Mellow Yellow to win. And the ending, the only thing with the finale, other than, you know, it'd be nice to see a bit more like longer shots of the overheads. The other thing, it would have been nice to have Michael Rooker maybe watching the program and getting his reactions. Because after he says, you gotta race my car, he's never in the movie again. And I guess at the end, because he seemed like a big part of the movie for the first half, the fact that we don't see him anymore in the finale, and you would think he'd be watching this because it's a very important race because of his sponsors. Because, okay, this guy's racing my car, and the hell with my sponsors. I think you would think his car, the engine of his car, or, you know, and you would think he'd be, I didn't, viewing, did he win, did he not win? But even just a few, I mean, we've seen it in other films where you have, since where even Rocky's kid in Rocky 4, you have the kid watching TV and him and his friends jumping. Like, you do easily have had just Michael Rooker in the hospital room or with his lady and watching it, and even just like when he wins, like, yes, or not bad, not bad, cool, not bad, and smiling. I think just that little bits there would have been appreciated, at least for me. I think it's a little nitpick, but that's all I have is really big, nothing that's a big deal, just small nitpicks. Yeah, I don't see what was so, when you watch the film, story-wise, is, I can see the Top Gun comparison where this guy who he's with, something happens, and one, the guy dies, here the guy's hurt. Rivalry with the guy who's looks a little bit like Iceman, the people involved, but I think it does enough different stuff that's not a carbon copy of Top Gun. And part of me wonders if I like this more than Top Gun. I like Top Gun, but on this one I had a bit more fun to it, and I will admit the fact Mel Yellow's so detailed in it. I mean, the fact I wear a fucking cap of it shows I'm a fanboy of the drink, so, which is a weird thing to be, but it is what it is. And at the end it makes you smile when Tom Cruise goes up to Robert Duvall. You want to walk with me? Where? Victory Lane. Robert Duvall's like, walk? Hell, I'll race your ass. And they're running and freeze frame, and I think that's a really cool, beautiful ending to the movie. So yeah, to me, it's a fun film. There's a chunk in the middle where there's no racing, so maybe some people would get bored, like if they're going into it with wall-to-wall racing. You get a chunk in the first third of the film. Then after the crash, there's a big portion where there's no action, which is probably why they had like the little wheelchair thing and the rental car stuff. And they do put stuff in there where Cary Elwes is being a dick and fucking over Tom Cruise's character. And you have the moment where Tom Cruise like, fuck this. He just goes up and beats the shit out of Cary Elwes' car. Well, not really. He drives his car into it. Parman's like, fuck, why didn't you do that while you were racing? At least you would have won. At least you would have won the race. But you do that after you lose? Damn it, Tom, what are you thinking? So, it didn't bother me as much as it might other people. Also, Cary Elwes, I forgot to mention, he was driving the Hardee's car. People might not even know what the fuck Hardee's is. Hardee's is a fast food joint. I'm not sure if it's strictly in the middle, the Midwest, the middle of the country. Because at times I rarely eat there anyway, because I think their shit's too expensive. I guess if there's a fast food to compare it to, maybe Carl Jr.'s. Maybe someone else has better comparisons. But yeah, to me, it's like, it seems more expensive than Burger King or McDonald's, but anyway. So I'm like, fuck you, Hardee's. That's for being so goddamn expensive. I want to see Melio kick the shit out of Hardee's. It's the fast food wars. Like the Demolition Man. But this time, not everything will be Taco Bell, because fuck Taco Bell. Anyway, Days of Thunder, it came out in a great year too, 1990. 1990 is a wonderful year for movies. You had Arachnophobia, you had Die Hard 2, you had Total Recall, you had Jacob's Ladder, the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. I love films like Graveyard Shift and The First Power, and I mean, Child's Play 2, like just a lot of films I really enjoy from 1990. I Come in Peace with Dolph Lundgren. I mean, with that said, Days of Thunder, fun racing movie. If you haven't seen it in a while, it's worth giving another look. Kind of a Tom Cruise film that's kind of forgotten. I know Paramount released a new Blu-ray, which maybe one day I'll pick that up. But, yeah, fun film. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.